The first discussion I have with students is over the rubric. The rubric tells what and how the essay will be scored. I like to think of the rubric as a contract that states only the written specifics on the rubric will be scored. This allows freedom for the student writer to be as creative as possible in knowing that their written work is not subjected to biased scoring due to the opinions and thoughts of others. The first rubric you see on the screen is the prose fiction rubric. Each rubric is structured in the same way with similar requirements, with row A being worth 1 point, row B being worth up to 4 points, and row C being worth up to 1 point, for a total of 6 points available to be earned with each essay. This is the literary argument rubric. Notice that the numbers and letters highlighted in green refer to the skill categories that you need to demonstrate in writing your essays. This helps you in determining what you need to study and practice with your writing as you are being assessed for that skill on your essay. Next is the poetry analysis rubric. Notice that the skill categories in green are the same on each of the essays. Refer to the AP Literature and Composition course and exam description booklet for details of each skill and what writing assignments help build your writing to meet the requirements in the listed skill category 7, which is about developing textual substantiated arguments about interpretations of part or all of a text. Now I will begin to show you the difference between the three rubrics. Okay, now for theses. Reporting category row A details the theses. This is worth up to 1 point. It is the same for all three essays: prose, literary argument, and poetry analysis. Look at just the left side first. For the theses portion of the rubric in relation to poetry and prose, the thesis requirements are the same, where you just need to swap out the word poem for passage, depending on which essay you're writing now. The best part for the poetry and prose essays is the fact that the text is given to you. You don't have to refer to another text. Now, to the right is the thesis rubric for literary argument. This is the question where you can choose from the novel list given or use any novel you have read as long as it is considered of literary merit. I discussed the meaning of literary merit in my literary argument video. Right now, know that the difference between the literary argument and the prose and poetry is the one sentence highlighted in yellow that states, "Describe the poem or features of the poem rather than making a claim that requires a defense." This sentence means when you write your theses for your prose or poetry analysis, do not paraphrase or quote parts from the given poem or prose passage without giving your argument or opinion. A simpler way of thinking about this is, do not write a thesis sentence by paraphrasing or quoting parts from the text given. Reporting category row B refers to the body paragraphs, or what some people call the supporting paragraphs. These are the paragraphs between your introductory paragraph and conclusion paragraph. In all of your essays, your body paragraphs must give an evidence and explain the evidence. In the additional notes at the bottom, there are caveats to the full 4 points. Grammar and mechanical errors are listed on all three essay rubrics. This means that even if you fulfilled the evidence and commentary requirements of 4 points, you can still get a 3 because of grammar and structural issues. Differences between the rubrics start at looking at the left side for prose and poetry. Under the heading of 3 points and 4 points, when it comes to arguing your theses in the body paragraphs, you need additional information. This means you must explain the what and the why of why the author used that particular literary element. If you look at my literary elements video, I explain more in details on the what and the why. Now, also, in the 4 points column of poetry and prose, there's a statement that says you have to use multiple literary elements or devices in your essay and tell what or why of why the author used that technique. If you want to score 4 points using one literary element for the entire essay, read in the additional notes section that you have to give multiple examples in the text that demonstrate the literary element. Let me give you an example. Here is more of a specific example to clarify meaning from the additional notes of reporting category row B for your prose and poetry analysis using one literary device for your entire essay. Think about the literary element of imagery. If you use the imagery of sight to prove your argument that a person was emotionally hurt by what they saw, you cannot use sight again to prove your argument, even if you were to say the person became happy by what they saw. This is because you have repeatedly proven that sight affects emotions. It is the same. Points are deducted for wordiness and repetitiveness. Yet, if you use the imagery of sight to prove emotional abuse and then use the imagery of touch to prove physical abuse, you could effectively provide multiple instances that the imagery element contributes to the passage. Your theses, sentence structure, and word choices will affect how effectively you convey your meaning to the reader. You would still need at least 3 textual examples for both sight and touch. Returning back to the differences of the rubrics in reporting category row B, the remaining difference between the rubrics is at the bottom right of the literary argument. With the literary argument essay, you're not to interpret portions or parts of the passage. You must apply an interpretation that encompasses the meaning or theme from the entire novel. This means that you have 2 choices. Write an interpretation for body paragraph 1 that is the same interpretation for body paragraph 2, or write an interpretation for body paragraph 1 that builds or transitions to another interpretation to body paragraph 2. The combination of the interpretation or theme from all body paragraphs should be the same. Notice, the word theme is key. As long as you have your understanding that the author's purpose or theme for the novel is the same from beginning to end of your essay, your writing is correct. Finally, we review reporting category row C, sophistication. The only difference between the 3 rubrics of poetry, prose, and literary argument is the highlighted item. Before I clarify the meaning of each bulleted item, you must know that sophistication requires writing the way you think, not the way another person thinks. Your essay is not to impress the reader, it is for the reader to be impressed by your writing. Sophisticated writing means being confident in your point of view statement and using multiple examples from the passage to support your reasoning as you explain your thought process within the context of the passage. Okay, now I'll start going through the bulleted parts of the sophistication. Since sophistication is very hard to explain just with the words in the rubric you see in front, I am going to focus on the parts of the rubric that go over how not to achieve the sophistication point. Now, in the first bullet, it shows in what context writers tend to generalize. The phrase human experiences always include uses the words human, experiences, and always, which are all general words. Instead of humans, write the specific culture, race, or community. Then, with the word experiences, what part in life are you writing about? Everyone has varying degrees of skills and practices in life, so write explicitly on what experience you are talking about. This can be easily done by referencing or referring back to your passage for specific word choices. Now, when it gets to the always, much like when you have an argument in real life, always should not be used unless it is truly always. It has to apply to every possible environment or is part of a quote from the passage for you to use it in your essay. In the phrase, in the world, let me pull that up. Be specific. What world? Are you talking about a career, education field, community, country, city? Just again, you can refer back to your passage to actually be specific in what you're talking about. Next, when you see in the beginning of time, you can give a particular time period, century, or stage of life. That's easy. Again, refer back to your text to get this information. Now, the next part is when they say while another or though the passage may have said to. This is saying be specific. Once you write on another way in the passage, you're really saying that, oh, well, this is another way you can interpret what's happening. Well, if you're going to give that, you must also give an example, explain the example, and comment on how the example proves the different interpretation. Then you still need to tell how that point of view, which is a literary element, helped in inferring that meaning. Now, the third bullet means that if you write that the theme of the passage is the fear of growing up, you must maintain or continue to support that same theme. An example is that a fear of getting hurt or the pursuit of happiness does not support the fear of growing up theme. Yet you could use the examples of a character not wanting to move out of their parents' home, not wanting to get a job, paying bills, or become geriatric as support for the theme of fear of growing up. Again, there cannot just be one single statement about the theme. Always remember that success on the AP Lit exam depends on the word multiple. Always write multiple supports to prove your argument based off examples from that particular passage. The fourth bullet focuses again on multiple. One sentence oversimplifies the complexities of the passage. Using cliches or idioms oversimplifies the underlying significance of a passage. Make sure you are, when explaining yourself, Refer again back to the passage as supporting evidence and then explain how that example proves your statement. The last bullet is stating that the overusage of SAT words minimizes the impact of your writing. Writing can be impactful using big words from the list, but it can also distract from reading, especially if you're using the word in the wrong context. Overly used SAT words in the essay or simply adding scholarly words for the sake of trying to impress the reader while diverting attention from the author's purpose of the text, this dumbs down the impact of your writing. It lowers the level of complexity and academic content of your essay. Sophistication must be present throughout the essay, not just in one paragraph or in a few sentences. In the description are 2 video links that cover this information in a different way. I like the second video since it has wonderful examples of demonstrating a student who received the sophistication point. Now, you do need to understand this. A student can receive the sophistication point without scoring a 6, the highest score. You, as a writer, can get the sophistication point in reporting category C, yet earn a 3 in reporting category B, or earn a 0 in reporting category A. Please do not think that receiving the sophistication point means you automatically score a 6. Support your sophistication by noting the literary devices used in the passage. Make sure you are referencing the specific sentence or the word phrases from the actual poem or passage of your prose and literary argument. Now, note I said actual. There's a little gray area of that when it comes to your literary argument essay. You are allowed to paraphrase from memory from what you remember of that text. It does not have to be exact word verbatim. You can still get the credit in the fact of you recognizing, hey, this novel that I read of literary merit is similar to this part of the prompt for my literary argument. Now, I do suggest you view my literary elements, my prose, literary argument, and poetry analysis videos to gain more insight into how I apply rubric requirements to within the essay, and I often do that using the W's of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Do you want to learn more on how to think while writing? Click on any of the videos you see here or below, post questions below, and I will respond or upload a specific video to demonstrate a clarifying answer. If you feel you've learned the thought process that helps you with writing, please click the thumbs up, or even better, share with someone else who you think would benefit to watching. And I definitely would appreciate it if you subscribed.